something that Mr. Knap alluded to, which is just that things work quite well in Germany, and there's a certain infrastructure that you can count on, and just knowing that things are done right without not being too hasty. And that's probably something that helps in the branding of Germany as a country, investment destination, and the city itself. Is that part of your message that you present to investors? And is that a core selling point of the city?
It definitely is. I mean, this is the German image. Somebody in Shanghai just told me a couple of weeks ago there are only two words you can promote Germany with. One is, or four words actually. One is made in Germany, and the other is Frankfurt. So what does Made in Germany stand for? Actually, something that the Brits developed to protect themselves from the cheap imports from Germany in the late 19th century, which apparently backfired to some extent, because that is our trademark now, and it stands for engineering solutions, high engineering skills, and therefore, of course, we promote that, and we make the links between those things that everybody knows, our cars and, for instance, our stock exchange, because Lutz keeps telling me that the one big advantage of Frankfurt is clearing and settlement, and that is in the end an engineering issue, because it involves software and all of that. So again, you find the same skills back in various parts of our economy and in the areas we are very strong at, and I think that's what we have to promote. But we have to, at the same time, tell people that we are very innovative and creative. Very few people know that Mont Blanc is a German brand. And Gilles Sander and Boss, and all of them, they normally not really related with a German image. So we bring them in as well, and that's why we are so very proud that we have Crytek, because that is a kind of creativity using the engineering skills in the end as well, but with an incredible creativity and with no limits. That is, I think, something that's very important for us.
And are there any misperceptions related to that about Germany as an investment destination?
Do you really want to talk about that? Well, I think we have to be honest. People don't think that we have a lot of humor. They think that we can be very lively once we had a couple of beers, but apart from that, we are pretty dull and very serious people. And that's why the Soccer World Championship was for us so very, very important, because that really changed the image of Germany significantly. I remember having young American and English students in my home, colleagues of my daughter studying in the US, and they were absolutely flabbergasted. They said the picture we've got of Germany is completely different from what we see here, and I think this is something we have to get across occasionally, that we are not that dull.
So yes, perception is definitely wrong outside of Germany. I'm fully convinced. Some of it is true, but some perception is wrong. It definitely is a high-tech country. That again, you would expect it for cars and engineering, but not necessarily for software. If you look at gaming is one example sitting here, but if you look at the German stock exchange, for instance, this is real high-tech, and this is software and hardware and nothing else. And it's the biggest derivative exchange in the world, as far as I know, and with a very high market capitalization. It's just purely technology, but it runs under different name. It's not a software company. That's a good example of wrong perception, I would say, in Germany. And generally speaking, it is also a very competitive market in lots of industries. That has been mentioned before. The competition means it's tough to win, but it also means it's low cost. And it means you have advantages in purchasing, for instance. And specifically, I'd like to insist, Frankfurt is, in my view, not an expensive area to do business compared to the likes of London, Paris, even Madrid, not talking about New York, Shanghai, Hong Kong, etc. Would you expect that? Do you really have that perception? Probably not.
Maybe I just want to add two things. One is your mentioning of the stock exchange. The German stock exchange was the only stock exchange up and running without any interruption when 9/11 happened. So all of a sudden, this was the only stock exchange in the world where you could trade. And it was traded, you could get your settlement, you could get your clearing, everything was done. And maybe on the side of, is the city a happy city? Maybe it helps to look around. The city is surrounded within 45 minutes, wherever you go, car minutes, wherever you go, by wine growing areas. All the big, important, good wine growing areas are in and around Frankfurt. So less well known, but maybe this kind of promotes the spirit of happiness.
Leads to a very interesting issue, and that's something that I only realized very recently. We Germans love our woods, and we are surrounded by woods. Frankfurt has the largest inner city wood, I think, worldwide. I don't think that anybody else would do that, but we Germans do it. And it's accessible. You can go there, you can bike, you can take the dog maybe at a leash, but you can do it. You can jog, you can mountain bike, whatever. And you can go through the fields. Wherever you are, you can use them. I always take the example of the US. If you want to do that in the US, you have to climb over a fence. If they shoot you from the front, it's self-defense. If they shoot you from the back, it's murder. The result is the same. So this is very unique. We have this little, as I said, this wood in the city, and the Consul General just told me a couple of weeks ago he lost a minister there. He was in the hotel next to it, had breakfast and had time, and he walked into the wood. He couldn't find his way out because he'd never been in a wood like that. And so they had to get the police, and with GPS they found him. But this is something that is really special. You have the nature, you can do all these wonderful things. And I would like to add one other thing to the internationality, because that really is for me the USP of our region. Because of the tradition of the trade fairs and all of that since 1200 years, people are accustomed to foreigners. And as Lutz said, we have these 30 to 40% people coming from abroad, living in the city now, from all parts of the world and through all layers of the society. We just have one large group from one part of the world. That's very important. And then, as Lutz said, that we have a lot of Germans, especially in the management, who have an international background. All of us have an international background. We all stayed somewhere else for a while. We know how it is to be an expatriate, and I think this is absolutely key, and that adds to the international flavor of the city.
And that's an endorsement of the quality of life itself, if you can attract international talent and get German expats to come back home and to settle in Frankfurt.
Yeah, to the perception issue, Toby, I want to add. From our industry, I can say the perception was there maybe 5 years ago. It's changed actually drastically with great content coming out of Germany. And in fact, one of the biggest clusters in Germany is actually in the Frankfurt Rhine-Main area. And the world's largest trade show in terms of visitor size is actually happening in Germany too. Okay. Unfortunately in Frankfurt, but very close to Frankfurt. So they fly into Frankfurt and use a train or whatever to Cologne. But that helped actually a lot to change the picture actually about Germany in our industry. And that's very important, because it suddenly becomes an interesting country or interesting region where people from Los Angeles, people Shanghai or Vancouver want to relocate and want to work there because of. They
have to come and see for themselves.
Yeah, but they also, when that in the past 5-10 years ago, it wasn't even considered to go there and work there, but it changed because of content coming out of the country, as well as how popular it became through trade shows, and people have spent time there and realized actually that's actually. Wow, that's actually pretty good. Nice. It's great possibilities. You have forest, culture, everything. I mean, it's basically supports what you said. Some people, particularly people far away, they don't know Germany in the last 5 to 10 years. The World Championship did a lot of work actually here. People visit Germany. They told me I would have never expected this, and similar things. It's progressing very well actually to our advantage.
We have a very recent proof for what we're saying, and it was just happening over the last weekend. It was the summit of the Art Directors Club in Germany. 3,000 invited members of advertising and related activities. They came for the first time to Frankfurt after 16 years in Berlin, and we had been told that some of them were a little bit reluctant, thinking to go to the banking city and all of that. And they had more than 50% more visitors than they ever had in Berlin. They were absolutely surprised about the support they were getting from the government. The mayor, undersecretary of economics on the state as well as the federal level were there at the opening. That had never experienced that, and it was a huge success. And because of the advantages, short distances in Frankfurt, it was not only happening at the Congress Center, but it was happening all over the city, even in adjacent cities. So it was a huge success, and those people who had never been to Frankfurt were absolutely amazed.
So is that a key part of the city's promotion plan, to try to attract conventions, sporting events, other kind of international fora to get people to come into the city?
Yeah, well, we have a lot. We will have the Female Soccer World Championship next year. And that will be centered in Frankfurt. We played quite a big role in the other soccer world championship. We have our marathon. We have the Ironman in Frankfurt, the real Ironman, not the half version. And so we go for the real thing.
To do it right.
Yes, we have to do it right, and we are constantly trying to improve in that sense.
Maybe the European Championship will come back as well. We don't know. Is that something?
Yeah, we know. We are looking at things. Yeah.
Ukraine, so maybe we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, mind you, we are we have the third largest trade fair in the world, and we have the International Car Fair is the biggest in the world. The book fair is the biggest in the world. There is no other city in the world where you meet annually so many intellectually bright people, Nobel laureates and all of that than in this 1 week in Frankfurt. Yeah. We have in the field of chemical engineering and biotech and these things, we have the ACHIMA every 3rd years, again the largest in the world. So there are a lot of things happening in the city, but what is the saying? If you stop to get better, you stop to be good. And we believe in that, so we're constantly working at it.
Courtney, I liked your word balanced, and I would like to come back to this because I think this is one of the big strengths of Frankfurt and the Frankfurt area. There's no single industry that's totally dominant in the city. So the financial center, it's a financial center for continental Europe. It's a gateway to the east, to Eastern Europe, but it's not dominating the city nor dominating the region. There are a lot of insurance companies, there are a lot of car companies, there are a lot of design companies, there are a lot of tech companies of all sorts. There's a huge biotech area and industry, even so-called old industries like the chemical industry. Chemical Höchst was one of the big German chemical companies. They were taken over by Sanofi. They reduced the size of their operations in Frankfurt quite significantly. Their former site was converted, with the help of the government, by the way, into a big industrial park. And this big industrial park is home of more than 100 companies with more employees than Höchst ever employed in the region. And this then is backed up by infrastructure like the telecom and internet, backed up by the transportation, which is not only the airport, it's also the waterways, it's also the railways. All big railway lines are crossing and meeting each other in Frankfurt. It's the big highways. So there's a lot of stuff there, and this is all in a kind of reasonably balanced way and not dominated, as I said before, by anything.